am here. Hi, everybody. Cool. Aaron says hello. Hi, Aaron. Grump Grateful Owl. Hi. And Ian says hi, everyone. And Ian's turning off his sound so I don't echo everywhere. All right, guys. We're having a nice day today as far as the weather goes. It's sunny out.
Yeah, it's beautiful over here.
Yep. A little bit breezy, but not too bad at the moment. Nice in here. Oh, there's some breeze. All right. Now it's getting windy. What do we want to talk about today is the question. Grateful Owl says, yeah, having grumpy in the name did make me grumpy after a while. Well, I noticed that it wasn't grumpy anymore, so I approve. Yeah, you don't want to put those thoughts in your head, right? You keep on repeating it over and over again, and then I repeat it because I'm reading your name. Good move.
I think it's true. It's always good to have a positive spin on things like that. Yeah.
Grateful Owl says exactly. And Ian says, please feel free to participate. Mind alchemy. Yep. Yeah. And the unconscious messages that we give ourselves on a daily basis, sometimes minute by minute, are things that are important to pay attention to. Negative self-talk really has an adverse effect.
Yeah, especially when going to bed. Absolutely do not do negative self-talk when you go to bed. Think positive thoughts, no matter what's going on in your life, try and keep away from it before you go to sleep and think positive, and that can help your day-to-day.
Yep.
A lot.
Yep.
Good for me, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't set yourself up so much.
Yeah, that's one of the things I used to do was too much negative self-talk. I'd lay in bed and then I'd think about all the things that were bothering me and stuff. And if you have those kind of habits like I did, break them. It's good for you to break them.
Yeah, that was the one that I used the Nerf bat on you for.
Well,
at the beginning. Yes. Beat it out of you. Astra says, hey guys. Hi, Astra. How are things going in your neck of the woods? Safe from fires? My sister had a flood and tornado watches happening the other night. So I visualized a bubble of protection around her, and the storm front actually went to her north and skirted around her place and never manifested like the weatherman was expecting. So I was happy. So was she. Not being in a tornado is always a good day. Any day.
Yep.
I'm just trying to yawn without yawning. I probably looked pretty funny. Ruth says, hi all. Hi, Ruth. Welcome. Always good to see you. Everybody come in and say hello. Life is interesting. There's always something going on. Astra says, yeah, there's one close, but it turned the other direction. I did some mantras for the anxiety and have a fire app to watch the fires. Good. I've been fascinated by the lightning map, watching where lightning is around the planet. And I can check in with my sister's property because I know where she lives and see if there's anything, getting close to her and my mom. And I do that often before going to bed at night just to make sure everybody's safe.
Seems to be close to real time. You can watch those things pop up.
It is fascinating.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm just like, technology has come a long way to be able to just tell instantly where things are. And when we had a lightning storm off the coast here, I actually was watching the lightning hit in the ocean, and they were actually doing the sound wave, so it would get a circle and start to go out like that, and I could see it getting closer to me, and then I could hear it when it arrived, right with the circle. So it was pretty accurate. So that was
It's just cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Pastor says, and have a plan with my neighbors to watch each other's backs. Yes, very interesting. Very good thing to do. Teresa says, hi, having trouble with chat popping up. Finally got it to work. Well, welcome. Glad you got it to work. Chat is a funny thing sometimes. we pop it out so that it's easier to watch and see and stuff like that. And Ian popped it out even more.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, did you open your mouth?
Yeah, you might explain why that was so loud.
Okay, so Ian had his nasal surgery on Wednesday, and he is not supposed to sneeze unless he has his mouth open because of the pressure in his sinuses. He's doing really well. He didn't get any black eyes. The pain was way less than anticipated. Our surgeon was just really competent and did an excellent job. He didn't have an adverse reaction to the
that's a nice thing to say for a change.
Yes. He didn't have any adverse reactions to the anesthesia like he did in his hernia surgery in 2021. So that was good because that was a bit of a concern for us. We were a little bit worried.
And I'm having surprisingly a whole lot less pain than I expected. The pain hasn't been very bad at all. So I was really lucky to get a really good surgeon.
Yep. So hopefully when the sinuses swelling goes down.
I'm going to have to go take some antihistamines up.
Wanna?
Yeah. So I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. But anyway, yes. So that's our good news as far as the week goes. It was a very stressful day. We were up at 5:30 in the morning and didn't get home until, well, we got home around 12:30, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, the surgery was a couple of hours, but I was doing a lot of sitting and waiting, and so was he. And then we also had a lot of, he was bored waiting for the surgery to begin. But we had fun. The staff was great, entertaining. The nurse had fun with us. It was just pretty cool. Asher says, I had an online Christian acquaintance try to intimidate me and telling me I'm full of falsehoods and should be careful. I told her I'm a witch and sent that energy back. Yeah, people have various reactions when they find out you're a witch, but good for you. I mean, seriously, what business is it of hers? I haven't had that in a while. We had that spammer a couple weeks back, but nothing else has popped up on my feed, so I'm happy. Asher said she's the one who's full of falsehoods and she should be careful. I did my mantras and the energy lifted. She blocked me. Oh, I feel so sad for you. She has the power of the block. Yay for her. That means she's scared. She was so mad that she couldn't intimidate me. It's funny how that works. They expect that this tactic is going to work. I'm not sure why they think that's the case, but yeah, they definitely often do. So good for you. Setting healthy boundaries is really important for sure. Beth says, hi everyone. Hi Beth. Astor says, it was an empowering moment for me. I wish her all the best. Good. Z-Sun Dragon says, hi all. Hi Z-Sun. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's like you're an adult. You should be able to decide for yourself whether you're going to go to hell, burn up for all eternity, according to them, or not, according to you. So, yeah. It's a strange mindset. I mean, I figure they should just pay attention to their own stuff and leave us alone. It's like, keep your hands to yourself. Teresa says, I watched your video on the Enochian charts. Do you personally use that? We have them made, but we haven't gotten to the point yet because of other things that have happened of doing the Enochian work, but we're still interested in it. I was thinking about that the other day. That was a lot of work. And we did a heck of a lot of research on it and learned a lot about that particular system, and got a direct link to one of the spirits. It actually came to me and gave me its correct pronunciation for its name and what it looked like and things I might need to know. So that seemed positive, but I don't remember what it was that happened, whether it was needing to fix the roof or something else, or the group freaking out. That could have been COVID started, I think, right after that. So, but it's interesting anyway. I don't feel like we wasted our time because I learned a lot doing it. And I painted all of those, the charts. And then, and Ian did the main seal and learned a lot from that as well. And figured out what had been left out, what was shorthand kind of thing. So we figured we'd share that for people who are interested, because it is a system that a lot of people seem to be attracted to one way or the other. It is kind of interesting. Astrid says, I told her, hate the belief, not the believer. Like how they always say, hate the sin, not the sinner. They don't like their own energy going back to them. Funny how that works. It's true. Teresa says, so what does the spirit look like? Well, it was an angelic form. The one that came to me, and I remember its color, but I really don't. I mean, it was a number of years ago, so I don't retain a lot of that kind of stuff. It happens, I write it down or tell somebody about it, and then I move on to whatever the next thing happens to be. I think that was when the group was beginning to dissolve, just before COVID hit. We were down to just me, my husband, and one other person, and then when COVID hit, when it was over, she never came back. So that was sort of like, a cleansing. We're talking about the Enochian tablets. John says, hi all. Luna told me something about needing to talk with the white coats again. Is Ian doing all right? Yeah, he's doing great after his surgery. Excellent. Yep. Good recovery. He's got the antibiotic cream or whatever to put there, and a saline solution to clear out the area of no black eyes. Bleeding has stopped. The first day, he kept forgetting he wasn't supposed to bend down, and
because then it'd end up with a fountain of blood.
And he'd end up with blood coming out. The first night was pretty difficult to sleep because of the blood coming out, but he's sleeping mostly. Last night he had insomnia, which wasn't related to the surgery.
Yeah.
But he slept the last few days before that pretty well.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. For the amount of time it's been, I'm doing exceedingly well. It's just we had an exceedingly good surgeon.
Yep, we're very happy with our overall experience with the hospital this time, which is great because years back we've had some horror stories coming out of there when we've gone in, and they seem to finally figured out how to run a decent hospital and have more A-team people there and less of the B-team coming in.
Yeah, this wasn't an emergency or something. This was a surgery to help me breathe better. I had a seriously deviated septum and some other issues with my sinuses that they fixed.
Yeah, I figured his nose was probably broken when he was a kid, or smashed pretty well so that the septum had grown in and was closing off the air supply on the one side. Jana says, thank goodness you're okay. Shame you've been through the ringer. Yeah. I mean, life is like that, though.
Yep.
Everybody's got something they have to figure out how to deal with one way or another, it seems. And I think having a more positive attitude and a more present in your situation helps you to navigate those challenges when they happen. And being a witch gives you some kind of fallback. We really didn't need any magic, though.
On the Enochian tablets thing, that was something that I had planned on doing and intended to do and wanted to do for many years, but then I just got so involved in Barden's stuff, and it's so much more complete. I mean, the Enochian stuff is like lots of guesswork and working from John D and all that, and Barden's stuff is just laid out 100%. So really, I kind of just got much more interested in going in depth more into Barden stuff fully.
And then COVID hit too.
Yeah.
That was right around that time.
Yeah.
And we were busy staying alive. We still have that going around our area. One of my clients, her entire family came down with it last week. They all tested positive, so at least they got it at the same time. And they're all home. So I won't be seeing her until sometime next week. She said 10 days, so probably next weekend I'll be able to go in and work on her. But yeah. So I did a Reiki session yesterday that was well received, so that was excellent too. I could really feel what was going on, and so could the person I was doing it for. And it's always interesting to me how that can happen with the energy exchange and presence. And when I withdrew from it, because I have to withdraw and make sure I have all of my own energy back, otherwise I could get sick. She felt that, and then right after she felt me withdraw, I texted her and said, "Okay, I'm done," and her phone went ding. That was pretty interesting that she had the experience of it directly like that. So yeah, so it's a fascinating process to do distance healing for others. And it works really well with some people and not as well with others, just like anything else, the right energy mesh and so forth. Teresa says, when you and Ian do magic together, do you use the same system? How does it work when casting your circles, etc.? Well, depending on what system we're doing, we do it whichever way that system is. Like if we're doing ceremonial work, I participate in Ian's approach to the ceremonial process, like when we're attempting an evocation through Barden's works. I mean, each system has got a little bit of differences, but they're basically the same.
Yeah, that's the thing to remember. It's really all one system. So if you understand how it works, as long as you're doing something in a method that works, you're not really stuck on one method or anything. You just use whatever is convenient and seems appropriate at the moment. So we pretty much go by off the cuff most of the time.
Yeah, and basically a circle is a circle, no matter how you cast it, as long as you're trying
as long as you're doing it right, yeah.
Drawing it on all three planes, that's really the secret. And whatever words you use in order to make that happen, or visualizations that you use to make that happen, those are secondary considerations to what you're actually trying to produce. And everybody finds their own mental language connection with the universe that works easiest for them, figuring out what their personal symbolism might be, what evokes a strong connection to that principle or that imagery.
And that's one of the things where Barden's stuff helps a lot because it's not tied to a particular symbol or imagery. That's one thing he makes a real point of in his first book. He takes all his lessons outside religion, outside imagery and all that stuff, and just presents practical methods, of meditation and doing the magic that are just direct and don't rely on symbols and things. In some ways that makes it harder because you don't have a ready prepared symbol that's already got something of a charge. But on the other hand, you learn how to do it right and all the aspects of how it works, so then you're much more flexible. Being stuck with a particular system, you have to work within.
Yeah. I mean, I assisted a traditional witch because she was being attacked by a group of what looked to me like Satanists, considering what they did to her sacred space. I'm thinking that's probably what they were. They were definitely a negative group of people. And she came to me for help because she couldn't defend herself. She was restricted by her tradition to doing only one particular ritual once a month. And that was the only thing she was permitted to do. And she knew that I didn't have those restrictions. And so she came and said, "Hey, can you help me?" And it was certainly interesting. I think that was the first time that I set up a psychic alarm system, because she lived in town and I lived in the valley, because I wanted to know when an attempted attack was taking place. And I was like sitting in my cabin by myself. I think I was actually sleeping, and then all of a sudden I hear this clanging bell going off, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And I realized it was my psychic alarm system going off. And so then I tuned in and saw the group and how they were dressed and how many there were and so forth, and then did something to protect her from them. So it was sort of interesting. But the lesson from that for me was the fact that we set our own limitations depending on what we choose to incorporate into a strong belief system. And, I know people that won't eat certain foods because it's a religious choice, but not because it's like a dietary choice, like for health. It's like, it's like this is a religious restriction that I have adopted to prove my worthiness or faithfulness to whatever this is. And it's a choice that they made. And then if they violate that choice, since they've made it that way, then they'll have consequences. But it's interesting because there's so many different ways of looking at the universe and experiencing reality and so forth. So Jono says, on a more joyful note, in one of my local area WhatsApp groups, someone was asking about hand fasting this evening. I'm trying to put her in contact with someone. This is a Christian stronghold. Well, that's good. Sandcat says, hi, everyone. Hi, Sandcat. And Jono says, it was awesome exchanging blessed bees with a stranger here. Cool. Fluid Mystic says, hi, guys. Hi, Fluid. I had, like, in the grocery store the other day, the woman who was checking me out noticed my moonstone pentagram and asked me about it and said that she really liked my necklace, which led me to my fairy star and then my other pentagram. And the woman who was in line behind her asked me about the fairy star and wanted to see that. So it was sort of a nice little mini exchange there, just pleasantries without any even blessed bees happening. Just, it was there. So Teresa says, I have to confess, I could not understand that Enochian stuff in all these boxes for each of the elements and directions. Are you invoking all these entities when you call the directions? That is just the plate for that particular element, and it contains the symbols and properties of every one of the angelic beings that are associated with that element.
Yeah,
yes,
it's really extremely complicated, and that's one of the problems I have with it and why I never followed through. I mean, we made all the props, but it's just such a complicated and difficult system to work with, and then you have to learn the Enochian language and all that. So yeah, that's kind of my fault that I didn't follow through and never followed through in that Enochian stuff, but it is just really complicated. It really is.
Astra says, you're a cool kid, Siofra. Thank you. Nice to be cool. Sandcat says, I have some selenite sticks arriving. How should I welcome them upon opening them when they get here? Cleansing and all that? You don't really need to do that with selenite. It's sort of it cleanses itself. It is such a specific kind of light energy vibration that it doesn't require cleansing. If you wanted to cleanse it, it's a good idea not to use too much water because they are water soluble to a certain extent, unless you want to use some sandpaper and smooth it out if it's like the raw stuff and it has the ridges in it. And you can put other stones on it to charge them. It will increase the natural charge of any stone that you place upon it. And I use them all the time. I've got them all over the house, and I use them to charge up my stones. I have some large pieces. I have some smooth pieces, different shapes and things like that. Got some towers, and some smaller sticks. And it's nice to just, have them around whenever you feel a need to brighten up your own energy. It's good for reducing inflammation. I've used it in the past if I've had, some inflammation around my jaw line or something like that specifically that I've done, where I've just rubbed the selenite over my skin and drawn the inflammation out. And it seems to work really well for that. Z-Sun says, some people from India that I work with won't eat beef. Cows are sacred to them, yet they will eat chicken. So yeah, religious restrictions. Teresa says, so Ian, you don't understand it either?
No, I understand it. Just, you might want to shut up for a second. But you see each one of these squares here. Each one of these squares is a particular aspect of the element according to the color. So you invoke each, it's actually called a pyramid because they're supposedly three-dimensional. You notice there's a sigil up there. This one is composed of air on this corner, water, and earth, according to the colors contained. So even though this is the earth tablet in general, you can tell because of all the green on it, each one is a particular aspect. This is like a fire of earth, this is earth of earth, this is water of earth, this is air of earth. And then the particular Enochian letter has a particular pronunciation and a meaning, and each one is a particular letter that is the name of a god, and you can combine them together and make different names of gods and things. I understand it, but it's so complicated and hard to work with, and then the idea is you can go visit each one of these squares and get a particular aspect of how the universe works. And each one of these letters is an individual being on their own that has the qualities, each of those amounts of the qualities of the four elements. And purple, of course, is Akasha and spirit. So, yeah, it's just really complicated, and I prefer simpler ways to work with things.
Okay. And that's the ones I did. I did those. I ended up using actual paint to do it. So Grateful Owl says, I saw a selenite lamp like those Himalayan ones. I didn't know they come like that too. I didn't either, but it doesn't surprise me. Jono says it's based on the story when Jesus sent demons into the pigs and they ran off a cliff.
Yeah.
Oh, the beef, not eating beef.
Yeah.
Sandcat says, I gave my son a small selenite stone and a black tourmaline when his relationship broke up. His life is going so smoothly now. It really helped him during a very difficult time. Well, those are two good stones to have together because the black tourmaline will keep any negative energy away from him, and the selenite will bring in all the positive stuff. Black Sat Sang says, whatever the method is, if it doesn't lead to an altered state of consciousness, then it doesn't work. The key is an altered state of consciousness. Well, yes, Starhawk described magic as being able to change your state of consciousness at will, and I think it's a pretty good definition. It's certainly all the things that we do are to help to transform our state of consciousness to be in a different kind of receptive state and to see things from a different perspective.
Yeah, personally for myself, going too verbal and detailed and complicated like that for me is actually counterproductive for me personally reaching a mystical state.
Sandcat says, ooh, a selenite lamp sounds amazing. I want one. I'm sure you can find one. Anjali says, do you recommend any literature for someone interested in learning about Fae? And hope you guys are well. Yes, we're well. Thank you for asking. And no on the literature because so much of it is just fear-based kind of stuff. So, check it out and see if you can find anything. I've done a few videos on what I know and have personally encountered when it comes to the Fae. And some other people in the group have recommended different books. I really liked The Real World of Fairies. That one was a first-hand account from the woman, Dora Van Gelder, who experienced them directly. Sulamith Wolfing's work is a good place to look at things too, because although she was never a formally trained artist, her art is incredible. And what she says of it is she painted what she saw. And so I consider that that's a good source of stuff. Teresa says, you are a beautiful painter. Well, thank you. It was precision work.
Yeah.
Zizan says, oh, wow, that's an absolutely amazing painting, Siofra. Thank you.
Yeah, we got one of those for each direction.
I did 4 of those.
Yeah.
And I also painted the seal, but Ian did all the drawing and stuff. That was, I learned more when I was painting the actual directions, because the elements and stuff like that would give me some
Right.
clues. Does it have it?
Just for the heck of it, the other part of it.
Is this the up? This
Yeah.
way? So here's the large sigil. I don't know if you can see the whole thing. You can also see it in the video that we did about it.
Yeah.
Because we did a video about all of them. Master says, oh, them squares are way above my pay grade. I'm practicing casting circles and calling the Watchtowers, learning about the pentagrams. Well, see, that's the thing. The Watchtowers, those are the Watchtowers. Those are the original Watchtowers. The whole sigil itself is the Watchtower. And when it got adopted by the Wiccans, and then other magical groups adopted it too, they kind of lost the source of what it was. So that was interesting to find that out. That when they say Watchtowers, that's what they're talking about, are those. Fluid Mystic says at Angeli, fairy healing magic, fairy healing, Margie MacArthur is cool. Okay. Onwin says, I have worked with the Fae. Really, if you do any magic or energy work, they will contact you. I agree with Siofra in that it is a good idea to avoid the fear-based content out there. Yes, somebody jumped in and just started spewing out all of that constant stuff, which, you know, I actually had someone whose comment I read recently on my Fae video, and, you know, witches and magical people and the Fae historically have had a relationship. And it's always been a positive relationship between witches and the Fae. Between the people of other faiths and other belief systems and so forth, maybe not so much. So it could have something to do with that as well. Beth says, oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Tina says, hi, everyone. Wow, that art is beautiful. It's very complicated. Master says, oh, wow, that makes sense. Kara Lee says, it's in my bottomless witchy chest. Astra says, are the Watchtowers elemental rulers or archangels? I'm interested in getting to know them. It just seems so complex. You can go either way. I go with not the archangels for the elements. I go with the more ancient names of the elements, Peralda, Jinn, Nexa, Lady Nexa, and Gob are also very traditional names for the heads of the elements. And in a way, if you think about it, it is like it's a title, like an office, like president, vice president, secretary of state, or whatever. Is like it's the office of the head of the elemental kingdom, and then whoever is available to fill the office when you're calling them is the specific spirit that answers, but takes on the aspects of the office. And so they're not like individual beings so much. Page says, any thoughts on spirit guides showing up as animals? I think my primary guide may be a dolphin. Do you have any thoughts on the dolphin spirit? Very playful, quick, interested in communication, talks really super fast, so sometimes hard to understand.
I had one of my guides manifest to me as Coyote.
Yeah, and I have a couple of spirit animal guides too. So yeah, definitely can do that. Teresa says, when I call the directions, I feel like I'm calling in the elementals along with some spirits who seem to specialize in those qualities. Should I be doing more?
Well, generally, there's no generalization that you should be. It all depends on what you want to accomplish. I mean, there's lots of work you can do with the elements and ways to work with them. And I like to pull them in and pull the element itself in through me and cleanse out all the stuff from me that I don't like, all the negativity of the day and that. But you know, there's a bunch of different ways to work with them, and the circle and the pentagram and pull things in. It's all aimed at what you intend to accomplish.
Tina says, Siofra, I saw a quick picture of you in a documentary on Prime Video. What? I'd like to know what that is. And by the way, my son is doing great with his health. Awesome. Good to hear. Gaga says, if there's good people and bad people, can't you say the same thing for the Fae? Well, people, humans, good and bad, is a human concept and a matter of perspective and where you are at the time something happens to you, whether you determine whether it is good or bad, or whether the person who did it is good or bad. So it's not the same. There's different jobs. I mean, you know, the spirits that take care of mountains are going to be different than the spirits that take care of trees and flowers or birds. And depending on the kind of bird they're taking care of, they're going to be different. So I stay away from that terminology because it's limiting. And we try to, like, as a species, we tend to devolve everything into contrasts, you know, black and white, good and evil, good and bad. and light and dark and so forth, and it loses the nuances of reality. Every spirit is different. It may not be good for you to be around that particular spirit being. That doesn't mean there's something bad about the spirit. It means that it's not good for you in that moment. And that's why we talk about personal magical boundaries, because you can determine what kind of energy you want to interact with, and you can always say no and not interact. Sorry, I got that stuck. Sandcat says, I fear humans, not the other. That's what I call everything unknown. I've never felt afraid of spirits. Z-Sun says, emotion comes to mind with dolphin. Yeah, imagine.
Watery nature seems reasonable, yeah.
And Kara says, depends on the Fae, their neutral is nature. Yeah, like a beehive is a good thing if you want honey and you can approach the bees without generating the stinging part, which is a bad thing. So think of that. Asher says, can I call them instead of the archangels in Hebrew names of gods if I do the, yes. And
Yes.
actually, we actually have, I think we did the meditation. I had Ian write us a meditation, taking those names out and using the other names, because I personally am not interested in attaching my energy to that particular pantheon. And so I think there should be a video.
Yeah, I set up the LBRP as kind of a meditation. So the meditation one takes a little bit different approach towards things. The one that I did just as a meditation is set up mostly for enlightenment and not for protection. But absolutely, you can substitute the ancient names of the heads of the elements, Peralta, Nexa, Gob, and Jin for the fire element. And you can certainly use those as the heads of the elements, and it all works just the same way as the LBRP, except you aren't using the archangels, you're using the heads of the elements and things like that. And it's just as effective, in my opinion, unless you've... There is the aspect, if you've already done it a bunch with the archangels and stuff, then you've invested a bunch of energy in charging into that method. So if you start over by changing things, then you'll be starting over with a bit of a new energy. But that's what I did, because I'm not fond of the Abrahamic energy associated with those things myself.
Yeah. And I've never been particularly interested in, when I really discovered how much of a witch I was and found some books on the subject, like The Spiral Dance by Starhawk, then it was like, okay, I really don't need this male dominating thing that's going on. I need to define reality for myself,
Yeah, and
stay away from it and
that's just
not draw its energy to me.
That's just one choice of the heads of the elements. You could certainly use the Western heads of the elements if you wanted, or planetarily or whatever aspect, as long as they're,
Yeah.
That's the point.
So number 8 has made a statement that is not something that can be proven or is literally true. So I'm not repeating it. It's an opinion. Gaga says, I'm still lost about what really goes on after death. How does the traveling? Well, I mean, I've certainly talked to and encountered a whole bunch of different spirits that were stuck and saw what their afterlife was like. Okay, so from what I know and from my experience, basically, when a person dies and their spirit goes into the other side like it's supposed to, from my memories of the life when I did that, you as a spirit being will see everything you've done as a very raw thought form that's going to, the things that you're ashamed of will be there, the things that you're proud of will be there, and then from that information you will decide where you want to go. If you get through that successfully and end up not in a weird intermittent kind of a place, because like the one I remembered, I thought I deserved to go to hell, and so I put myself there for a while, then you can come back as a guide to family members. It seems like this is specific families. Some families have got ancestors that from their line that serve as spiritual advisors and protectors and so forth, and try to help their progeny. Others have angelic forces that try to help them, and so they have like a guardian angel, not necessarily Christian, just an angelic type of form. And some people have, spirit animals or other traditions that fill that role. So, yeah, we had one time when I was helping with the print shop here in town and crossing over the woman who owned all the printing material, and she was very picky about what they were doing with it. I got her to cross over. The person who owned the print shop's father, who had passed, exchanged places with her to come as a protector of the family. So that was kind of an interesting little unexpected event that happened. But in reality, if you've watched the movie What Dreams May Come, if you haven't watched it, I recommend seeing it. It's a really good example of what I think happens. It all depends on you. You create your reality when you're gone from your body. And so that's why becoming, I don't know, self-aware and as much as humanly possible and being in control and working with yourself and doing the shadow work and so forth is so important while you're alive. Because once you leave, you're going to be stuck with whatever you haven't finished. And that can draw you back into another existence. So, Jono says, Luna said you said something related to the Watchtowers called Peralta or something. I don't remember hearing you describe it. Do you know what I'm talking about? What is it? Peralta is the name of the head of the air elemental. It's that's his name.
The ancient name they used.
Ancient name that they used.
And these are actually interesting. Like take Gob, for example, the one for the earth element, which is GOB. That also turns out to be a Kabbalistic formula to give you complete control over the earth element. And thus that being also. So they have some authority for Kabbalistic use in Barden's Kabbalah, mind you. Hebrew Kabbalah wouldn't know what to do with that.
But yeah, Peralta is air, fire is Jinn, water is Lady Nexa, and earth is Gob. And Peralta, in the system I'm using, Peralta has a sword, the Jinn has a wand, Lady Nexa has a cup, and Gob has a shield. And so, when I'm calling them forth, I do something like hail to the guardians of the element of air. I call upon Lord Peralta, that kind of thing. Or hail Lord Peralta, head of the element of air, kind of thing, the kingdom of air. And then ask for whatever I need. And knowing what the elements mean, like what attributes they have, is helpful with that because they all have their own color. Peralta is yellow. Jinn is fire, so it's red. Water, Nexa, is blue-green. And Gob is either brown or black. I usually go with brown for Gob because it reminds me of earth.
Yeah, that's what I usually use too.
And black can also be Akasha, so that helps me to keep from getting confused in my brain. And then, of course, Akasha I see as a deep, dark purple. And usually when I cast a circle around my room, I do all 5 elements. So I do the 4 elements around me, and then I do the spirit above and spirit below and make like a sphere of protection. And then move it out to the edges of our property. And then fill it up with energy. And so, yeah. So each one of them, again, like everything else, the more you have a solid definition, internal definition of what those words mean, the more complete your connection will be to those particular spirits and their energy and so forth, and the element itself. So Teresa says, I would like to see a video devoted to different ways of calling in the directions and what different things can be achieved by that. That's an idea. I mean, everybody comes up with their own way. I think I did one where I read some of the different kinds of calls that there are. But Asher says, thank you, Ian. Tina says, I'm trying to find that documentary. I believe it's called All of Them Witches on AMC's subscription. I saw you just for a few seconds in the last few minutes. Well, I'm going to see if I can find that. Because if I'm on TV and I don't know about it, I might want to know. Asher says, can you just call them to get to know them and not really do anything and then dismiss them? I need to know these guys before I start asking them for favors.
Well, yes, and that's part of the process. You're talking the LBRP. that's going to start balancing the elements within you. And that's one of the things I recommend when you're calling them, is to pull in that energy and let it balance the energies within you. I mean, the original LBRP, you're using the banishing pentagrams for all this. But I prefer, when I do that, to use the invoking pentagram and invoke, say, the air to flow through me and pull out all impurities and cleanse me that fashion. So I like to do a cleansing that way, and that way you're not really asking them for anything, but you're getting to know them and such. So yes, and I agree with that. That
Yeah.
attitude is a really good attitude.
Gaga says, I heard the orbits of the planets around seasons can affect the elements in your body by Mountak Chia. Well, the ideal is to be as balanced with all the elements in you as possible. That's sort of the whole point of it. And if you can get yourself in balance, it won't matter what the planets are doing.
Yeah, they'll affect you a lot more when you're out of balance. If you have something that can get pulled on, for example, if you're going through a fiery period astrologically and you have an excess of fire, then it might tend to lead you to get more like angry, but also potentially more enthusiastic, and get like overzealous and things like that, negative aspects from having an excess of it. So they can affect you a lot more. But once you're balanced, then one element going in or out in the planets is likely to affect you a whole lot less. You can still maintain your equilibrium a lot better, whatever is going on.
Or at least you can be aware of what's going on too, so you can take steps to protect yourself from the imbalance if you're going to go through that temporarily.
Yeah, it basically helps you get control of things, and then you're much less able to be affected by the elements and what they're doing. You know, your water can make you overly emotional and things like that.
So Sandcat says, I must depart, blessed be. Bye, Sandcat.
Bye, Sandcat.
Thank you for dropping in. Astra says, this is so damn cool. I'm so glad the spiritual realm is real. I'm a little timid and cautious, but this has really helped me to feel stronger and less like a fainting goat. So much fun. Oh my God, fainting goats are so funny.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be a fainting
They're
goat.
so cute, though.
They are so cute, but it's really not a very good, tactic to just sort of.
Not a good survival tactic.
No, it's like I see something dangerous. I'm going to pass out now. Boom. And there's like, maybe the predators just look at it and go like, well, there's no fight left in that. So I'm not going to chase it. I don't know. But anyway, yes. Fluid Mystic says, yeah, there is even a branch of magic specific to planetary forces. Not me getting inflammation because of these.
Well, but yeah, there's also all the positive aspects, like heat. You can't survive without it, and then fire lends to your metabolism and your blood generating enough blood and things like that, and healing. So yeah, it's all kinds of positive.
Well, fire, Mars,
aspects.
Iron.
Yeah,
iron is what makes your blood, so you're full of it.
Yep.
Astra says, me, my neighbor, play with fairies, and I think it's such a blessing who gets to play with fairies. Beyond grateful. My neighbor is a really neat person. Good, I'm glad. Astra says, blessed be, Sandcat. Paige says, do you have suggestions on cleansing the aura when deep in grief? I've been told in order to connect with my dog who's crossed over, I need to cleanse my aura energy. Okay, so there's a number of things that I've done for grief, different types of grief. So you can help to move the energy out of you by writing it out, putting it down on paper, reading it aloud, burning it to send it on to, in this case, the animal, the spirit, or the wherever animals go kind of thing. You can use a cup of water and you can breathe into the cup and try and release your grief and your tears into the cup, and then pour that cup into a larger body of water, like a river or a lake, or the ocean if you happen to be near one. And if not, just on the ground, and let that energy that is impeding you go back to the earth so that the earth can then use it to do something else with it. When we hold on to intense feelings like that, a lot of times people are afraid to let them go because they're worried they're going to hurt things around them. And really, the earth is the best and the greatest recycling thing that exists. And energy, no matter how it starts, even if it's like rage and stuff like that, if you get it out of yourself and give it back to the earth, then the earth can transform it into something that it needs. So think about that kind of thing. when you're coming up with ways to help yourself. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very specific to your particular, how you feel and what works for you. But those are just some ideas. You can also put it into a stone and bury it. Yeah, so there's a couple of ideas. Asher says, I saw my cat glowing a few nights ago. He has a white light around him. Our cat's magical. I was so happy to see his aura. I asked to see it a few months ago with his permission. Yeah, I think everything that exists is magical in the sense that it's more connected. Other beings are more connected to the natural magic that exists in the world than humans are. We're the ones who have to make the effort to reconnect because we don't feel that automatic connection. And a lot of people think that cats are protectors. They are there to warn you about danger. Their presence and their purr helps our physiology. It helps to lower our blood pressure, helps to make us feel calmer, which is one of the good things about pets. Yeah, so I think so. Paige says, that is so helpful, Siofra. I love the water ritual. Thank you. You're welcome. Asher says, and I'm like, holy crap, my cat's glowing. Holy kitty. Well, auras is energy. And like when I'm looking at my aura, sometimes before I go to sleep at night, and I start gazing at it and letting my eyes on focus, and I start to see first the sort of deep purple line of ball of energy that kind of is just around it. And then suddenly the color comes in, and this most marvelous green color. I love the color of my aura. It's a healthy, wonderful, healing green. And so I use that when I do Reiki and so forth too. Tap into that color spectrum. So yeah, it is pretty cool. We glow whether we're alive or not, but we glow while we're alive. So Astor says, but he's 30% devil. All cats are bipolar. Well, actually, I think a lot of times humans have they don't understand cat language. And the more you can learn about cat behavior and cat language, the more you'll be able to communicate effectively with your cat. When they close their eyes at you, that's a cat kiss. And so when a cat goes and looks you in the face and then slowly closes their eyes, if you do the same, they'll be very excited because they're like, oh my God, he's not so stupid like I thought. My human is getting a brain. And so, understanding where they're coming from with all animals, no matter what kind they are, is definitely the best road to developing real communication with them. We do a lot of projecting. A lot of people think cats are aloof and disdainful and judgmental, which
not us.
Not us. We don't believe that. That's just human projection, looking at a cat and then projecting a human feeling onto what we see as their facial expression. So that would be my recommendation. There's some actually good videos out there about cat language. And
if you actually get into contact with them mentally, you find out it's nothing like human.
Yeah. They are eating, killing machines. Fluid says, I heard a story from Life of Great Magician. She told us that sometimes her cat is following her in the astral and they are wandering together. How cute is that? Well, I've met a lot of cats in the astral, and I've had cats communicate with me in my dreams. And anytime a cat of mine has passed, the cat has come to me to tell me what happened. And so I find that very interesting. Of course, I had that amazing experience with that panther in the zoo. So I clearly have a connection with the cat spirit from that. Gaga says, Mantak Chia said the human has body cells capable of consuming and absorbing 90% of the cosmic forces in light. Okay. Cheyenne says, do you have tips for seeing your or others' auras? Okay, for one, have as plain a background as possible, but not a stark background. I can't do it on something that's white. A pure white background makes me start to see things. More things that I can control. So, dimly lit space, and then if you're going to look at your own aura, is the easiest one to start with because you carry it with you wherever you go, and you don't have to try and look at other people. Then you look, put your hand up and just gaze through your fingers, past your hand, and kind of like you sort of engage, you see the whole hand, but you don't, it's not in focus. It needs to be out of focus, because what you want to see is the actual energy that's around that hand. You don't want to see your fingerprints or your palm or any of that other stuff. And then as you unfocus, you just sort of have to be patient and wait, and you'll find that all of a sudden little things will start to appear, and you'll see what looks like a force field, energy field around your hand. And you can feel it like with your other hand. You just do this where you put your two auras closer together, and you can start to feel like a sort of like a pressure. It builds up between your palms, and then you can really activate and feel that, which can also help you to see it. When you get to the point where you can see it well, and the colors come, which is very exciting. I like the colors. You can practice trying to look at other people, like going to a restaurant where there's a nice wall across from you and people are sitting down, and you can try the same kind of technique with them and just sort of try to look at their energy field unobtrusively so they don't arrest you and see what you can see. But it's like a different way of looking, and it takes practice. Most people just don't automatically do that. So Asher says, wow, I can't see my aura like that yet. I just see white. I did see myself on the astral once. I looked like a little yellow sun. Yeah, cats are special. My cat will comfort me when I'm crying, then slap me. It's a beautiful kitty. Snap out of it.
Yeah, I had a special cat one time that I went through months of serious pneumonia and almost died, and the kitty cat was very concerned about me and laid down beside me on the couch and everything and kept me company, and was clearly very concerned about my health, and almost seemed to start mirroring some of my symptoms. She was so connected to me.
Yeah, sometimes animals will do that to try and heal their people.
Yeah, it was very very touching to me.
Teresa says, I did the slow blink with my cat and it made her blush. Cute. Jono says, I usually enjoy making fun of how awful cats are, but never again in this space because Ian will ban me. Help me though. Why do they push things off of tables? Just to see them fall, because it's kind of fun.
That's an insight I didn't get from the cat, but it's a good question. I sit and watch the videos and watch them do that.
They do. And a lot of times they just watch it fall and they go like, yeah, okay, that worked.
And push off the next thing, yeah.
Yep. They're bored and they're entertaining themselves. Our rabbit is doing things like the other day we have this, what used to be a cat tube, that cats like to run through. The rabbit has taken over the cat tube. The cat we have is not that interested in it. And he was standing up outside of the tube and looking into the hole in the middle for a while. And then he decided he jumped over the tube and turned it into a hurdle, which was pretty cute. And he gets bored and creates patterns and race runs and all this other stuff. So Gaga says, if you like Barden, I think you'll like Montauk Chia. They both talk about balancing the elements inside yourself.
Yeah, I might add, though, and I am familiar with them, that I haven't decided exactly how the elements correspond, because they've got metal and wood as two of their elements, and wood seems like it'd be appropriate for earth, but they don't give it exactly the same qualities. So
this is Chinese approach?
Yeah, I agree. It's very interesting. I think they probably do correspond, but I haven't decided for sure. I think spirit is probably more like metal is probably more like the Akaja or spirit, but I haven't decided that for sure. I've read it. It's interesting stuff, but I haven't delved that deep into the oriental aspects of the elements.
Well, it's a completely different kind of elemental system. India's got the same system we have. They have the same creations for the elements. And what they mean and stuff like that.
Well, so does some Tibetan systems, yeah.
Well, yeah, but not the Chinese system. It's completely different. So I think it would make sense if you were born into it.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Montauk Chia was one of those that uses the oriental elements.
And Kara says, I miss my cats. They were awesome. Astor says, my cat helped me to be brave because they are 9 pounds and not afraid much of the time. He's not afraid of fairies or ghosts, so I had to toughen up. Can't be outdone by a cat. Shay says at Jono, laughing, not making fun of cats. Tina says, I had a cat that would knock things off the piano until we let him outside. He knew how to get our attention. Kara says, Chinese zodiac and a metal pig. Fluid Mystic says, I started studying Chinese magic and there is a misconception about their elements. Wu Wei, as they are called, seem to be alchemical processes of change, not so fundamental elements.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it seems to me also.
Yeah. But hey, you know, I have a system that really works well for me, and I don't feel for myself that it's necessary to try and adapt to and absorb yet another system. Because then I'd have to like start all over, as it were. But I think it's great that there's lots of different systems out there, so I don't dissuade anyone from doing that.
Yeah, no, but I think you're right. They are more like processes is kind of the conclusion I came to too. So I did, you know, yeah.
Jacqueline says,
But I haven't
hello,
studied
Siofra
that.
and Ian. Hi, Jacqueline. Nice to see you. Yeah, so all of the things that we've been talking about, it's like you develop your own personal language of communication with the forces and the elements and stuff that are around you. And a lot of that is going to be based upon cultural experience, you know, what you are exposed to when you're young, what makes sense to your brain because of what you were exposed to and so forth. Changing a complete system, I thought it was interesting. Starhawk said it's not enough to reject a system that you were raised in. You have to completely replace it. Otherwise, it just sits there waiting for a crisis. And then it becomes, you go right back to it because you haven't done the work to replace it. So, and I think that's true. Fluid says, yes, Chinese system is like math to me. It's hard and I don't know if I'm going to use it, but who knows? Carol Lee says, oh, I stink at math. Yeah, me too. Fluid says same. Yeah, math, not my favorite.
Too. That's why I don't do astrology because there's too much math involved in it. I find it valid, but I'm not good at math either.
We're intuitives. There's no doubt about it. More emotionally based rather than all intellectual. So.
Well, also, I'm interested in all that stuff anyway. I learn lots of stuff that I'm probably never going to use just because I'm interested in it.
Well, yeah, I find it interesting as well,
subject,
but not to the point where I want to spend, years studying it and practicing it and doing it because I know it works for me.
Yeah.
Asher says, is the Kundalini natural psychic protection? I feel more psychically protected and better able to stand up for myself.
That can be part of it.
It
all depends on what's going on and what chakra you're at and what's being awakened, and it's another system that's there's a lot of potentially complicated stuff about it, but it's basically simple. It's a bodily process, yeah.
Well, it has to do more with coming into your own power and becoming more your essential self. Kundalini helps to like get rid of the dross, and because of the energy that it brings to the table, and then the attempt to adapt to the energy that it brings to the table.
Yeah,
usually makes you a lot more self-aware, and being self-aware helps you to create boundaries, healthy boundaries, and having boundaries gives you automatic psychic protection.
Yeah, but there's also there's other aspects. I mean, any complete system includes lots of aspects. Kundalini includes the aspects of balancing the elements. The fact is, your 4 bottom chakras are the 4 elements. Of course, your air is the heart chakra, fire is the navel, water is the genital chakra, the svadhisthana, and then the root, of course, is the earth chakra. You get those balanced, you get the air balanced, and then you come up to the throat. And when you're doing that, that's the akasha that's getting balanced. So by the time you reach the awakening of all those chakras in the akasha, you're doing the same thing as you're trying to accomplish with balancing your elements. There are kind of different ways of going about the same thing, except the Kundalini can be forceful, so you have to be careful and not force the Kundalini open, because then it can force these things to try to happen, and your body cannot be in the best shape for it, and you cannot be ready for it. So yeah, so I recommend if you balance your elements and stuff, you're awakening those things naturally. But it's also, as far as protection goes, once your elements are balanced like that and you're in harmony with the Akasha, you're about 80% protected from a lot of the bad things to start with. And then the Kundalini awakens lots of other abilities and things, which also can amount to psychic protection. Once you get far enough, you're basically pretty much protected from everything if you get that far.
Well, part of that
But,
process is knowing who you are.
But that's a whole.
And then the being able to tell
Yeah.
the difference between you and other. And yeah, having the balanced energy and so forth, definitely.
So yeah, Barden's system is not about working directly on the Kundalini, but as Barden actually points out, I believe in his first book, he mentions some relationships to the chakras and the elements, I think. And, you're doing the same thing. Any genuine system of development. In the case of Barden's system, you're also still awakening through the Kundalini through those practices and things. So you end up in the same place. It's just a different method of doing it.
And the other thing about being balanced is then you don't have as many hooks, potential hooks. Usually conflict comes when someone throws something at you that you haven't dealt with or haven't resolved successfully, and then you get into a fight with yourself or with them or what have you, and it's hard to let go. So I think that, yeah, there's a lot of that.
And it's also, you look at magic and karma. Say if somebody throws a nasty spell at you or something, and if it's going to affect you, it'll come out where you have weaknesses, or like it may not be aimed at the elements, but maybe you have a weakness in one of the elements and it may manifest out that way, because if you receive a negative force that's intended to harm you from whatever direction, where that's going to come out is where your weaknesses are. And by doing that, you're gradually building up, strengthening your aura and banishing your weaknesses also, so those things are less and less likely to affect you until basically you've got a good strong aura and they don't affect you much at all. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. There's a lot to it.
Gaga says that's correct. He talks about the wood element and the metal element, and every element corresponds to an organ.
Yeah.
Fluid says it's good that we have computers now and they can do all the math of astrology.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Asher says, is the Kundalini an elemental, a goddess, a force? I've heard it described in so many ways, but I feel like the energy clears negative foreign energies.
It is a goddess and a force. It's not an elemental, though. As it goes up through the different aspects, it'll awaken the elemental aspects. Theoretically, if you get the root chakra awakened fully, you should have basically command over not just the earth element, but also this earth zone to a certain extent, and it should make you, more in command of all the things that could kill you and that, and then you go up to the water one, and so.
But yes, it does help clear out negative foreign
Kundalini
energies.
is a goddess. And it's an intelligent force that can be started in your body, and it can be caught from other people. Call it a force of evolution. It's an evolutionary force. Its purpose is to evolve your body. You don't want it to evolve you too fast, because that's where problems come in. With forcing the Kundalini, it's trying to force you to evolve, and then you're stuck. It's like, in a way, it's kind of like the OTO, going through the OTO rituals where, bam, now you're subject to these energies and you have to adapt to them. Or if you're not ready for them, you can go awry and they can be harmful. Well, it's the same kind of thing. You want to coax it up. You never want to force it, because it will try to force change within you and on you. And if you're not ready for that, it can be extremely damaging. So there's a lot to awakening it that way. Barden's methods and methods that deal with the elements, using the elements, breathing them in, working with them and all that, are a lot less harmful because they're not forcing anything. It's more like, I used to use the analogy of curling. It's more like you're sweeping away the stuff. The energy is like the whatever they call a curling thing, the thing with the handle that slides, a curling stone, yeah. And you're just moving away all the stuff that prevents its rise. And so that's kind of what you're doing
And
when
that's
you're
the
working with
broom.
the elements and things. Yeah.
Curling broom.
So
I'm trying to get it to land in just the right spot.
Kundalini yoga is working on the Kundalini directly with visualizations and things and trying to awaken it that way. And other techniques like Bardens are awakening the Kundalini through indirect means.
So Fluid Mystic says, just want to say thank you both for creating this channel and this little magical community. It helps me a lot to be here and talk with you.
You're welcome. We get a lot out of it too.
Yes. Aster says, it feels like water and goes through all my chakras, but I have a bunch of tiny lights and orbs that seem attracted to my body. I think they're elemental mostly, but try to clean energy a few times. And that makes sense.
They can make you make spontaneous movements and things. And that's one of the people where people get scared from making spontaneous movements and kriyas. I have some sometimes, but usually only when I'm in extreme emotional condition. Then they come out, but to clear things out of me. But yeah, it can make you have spontaneous movements and things. And if it does, don't be afraid of it and just let them go, as long as you don't, you might have to keep command of them to a certain extent and not let them force you to do things harmful, because sometimes they can be kind of forceful and yeah.
So Asher says that makes sense, and wow. Fluid says, hail the snake goddess. Jono says, I'm so glad I'm here for the curling metaphor. I've never heard anything explained better.
Thank you.
It's a good metaphor. I like it. Definitely.
Nice image of a curling stone there.
Yep, it's a good image. When I was going through my really super active phase for a while, it would happen so regularly that I could set aside a time to go lay on my bed and just bounce. And my reaction to the energy moving through me and moving me around like that was to laugh. And I think that humor and laughter is a good response when something unusual is taking place. And it's like, yeah. So I was never really afraid of it, probably because I've been having it happen, even though it was annoying that the guy I was with at the time was forcing it to come up and threw me into that active phase. I had to get through that to get out the other side. But it certainly is still doing its thing. And I went through that 2 weeks where it was really intense, but it's still there. It's not like it goes away. If I relax, I feel it in my root chakra. It just, everything just sort of vibrates and opens up, and then I feel the connection. So it's interesting.
Yeah, at this point, I usually don't get kriyas very often, like I say, unless I have something intense that needs cleared out, and that's mostly what those are. And there can be a real serious cleansing process with Kundalini, where it's trying to clear out past events and traumas you've gone through. So you may get like traumas and events of your past coming up and becoming very prominent, and basically, you could end up in a state where you're basically reliving them. But if that's happening because of Kundalini, it's to get them out of your system permanently, and you let it go through and let them go out and be cleansed out of your system, even though that can be, for a lot of people, extremely traumatic and harsh. But usually if it's a Kundalini working properly, then once they're gone, they're gone.
And Paige says, I have found when doing 40-day Kundalini breathwork practices, really life-changing and often traumatic experiences occur. It makes me hesitant to do again, though I do think breathwork can also be healing. But you have to decide when you're ready for something, and if you're not, you try and do your best to just sort of stay where you're at.
The real thing with Kundalini is not to let it overwhelm you. Don't push it too hard, You'll know when you're pushing it too hard, your body will feel funky. You'll get like tired and exhausted, and mentally tired and exhausted, and don't push it that far, because it can be just like over exercising. You get sore and then you have problems afterwards, and Kundalini or magical practices can be like that.
John says, I haven't been maintaining my relationship with my land guardian. Now we're getting rising groundwater and new springs in our complex, causing real world issues. He's a strong, standoffish dude. I hope I can make stuff good again. Yeah, hopefully that'll work. Teresa says, do cats have Kundalini?
Well, that's a good question. I have read some I don't know myself, but I have read some things from yogis and things that say they do. But it doesn't need to be awakened like ours because we're the only person that stands upright. Theirs is already in whatever state it's supposed to be in because of their position. Now, I don't know the validity of that, but that's what I've read.
Well, since it's like, the fire serpent energy.
Yeah, I think it's more like already awakened in animals as much as it can be. But
Yeah, I think
but
so.
I could, like I say, I'm not certain of that, so don't quote me as an authority on that.
Astra says, solid advice, guys. Good stuff. Yeah, it doesn't feel bad. I think it helps me with grounding. I do get a little bit of shaking, but it's not violent. I just try to accept the feelings and ground. Yeah. And if you need it to slow down, eating heavy foods can help. The things that make your body have to digest food.
Earthy foods, meat or beans.
Yep.
Heavy beans, that kind of thing.
It can help to sort of dampen
potatoes, earth related foods.
And it helps to dampen things down a little bit, so you can take a bit of a break because it may be intelligent, but it doesn't know everything. You are still the person in charge, so. But yeah, it's interesting. Life is definitely interesting. We've had some good conversations already.
Yep.
Now we're waiting for more questions. I'll have to look up that video. It'd be weird if I was in a video and I didn't know it. I know that there's a group of people that made fun of me on YouTube.
Well, we'll see how long their channel lasts. It's probably gone already. There's no way to run a channel just making fun of other people. It's not a channel that's going to get
They were picking apart my Faye video. That was the one that decided to make fun of me and at least, I think, 2 other witches that also had videos about fairies or something. YouTube let me know because, they see when your image or part of your video is being used somewhere else and it pops up on your channel. John says, I've missed you guys. You working on a new magical project? Let me think.
Pretty much the same stuff, I think.
Yeah, nothing specific at the moment.
Really started anything, We just been trying to, I got a little bedroom I'm in. I need to get cleaned out and get stuff into the garage and lots of house stuff and trying to start a new channel and stuff, so.
Gaga says, could I learn to take energy out of the ground with my hand through energy work? Sure. It's easier to do it through your feet, though, and let it come out of your hands.
Yeah.
Instead of using your hands to try and pull the energy up.
Yeah, picture yourself rooted like a tree and let it flow up into you and up through you. Just like you picture how a tree has sap and stuff that comes up from the ground, the water comes up and it sucks in the nutrients and stuff, and let that earth energy flow right up through you like that. I recommend letting it go right all the way up through your crown chakra.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like the main thing I'm doing right now is a distant healing, and then dealing with real world, crises here and there, as life is wont to throw at you.
Yeah, but you can also do the same thing with the other aspects. You can pull the magnetism out of the water element by if you're around a lake or the ocean or something. You can use the magnetism by pulling that into yourself. The fire has a property of the electric fluid. If you're around something fiery, I don't know, a volcano, I don't know, make yourself a large bonfire, but you can pull that in and use it too. So yeah, all the aspects are usable. The earth energy is more complete than just the earth element energy. If you're pulling up earth energy, it's like earth zone energy, so it includes the energy from all the plants and animals and everything on the planet.
And the air you're
and
breathing in.
And the whole zone, the whole area, everything. So it pulls in a much more fuller aspect than just pulling in the aspect of earth, which is gravity and
well, right, and you've got the fire at the center of our planet, which is the core fire element that the earth zone has, and it's a pretty balanced kind of a thing when you're doing it.
So yes, highly recommended to do that. You can pull it out of the air. You can pull in energy from the sun, and you get the solar energy. All the planets at the appropriate time when the planet is above the horizon, if you can figure that out astrologically. Don't have to be, but it's stronger if you pull it in when the whatever planet is like.
Yeah, I guess that just depends on your mindset, because that one I don't seem to have a problem with no matter where it is. But yeah.
Well, yeah, like anything, it's just a little stronger, you know. I mean, you could pull in the energy of the moon when you're not on a full moon, but you just get it stronger if you do it when you're on a full moon, you know. It's that they don't everything's
Continuum.
a continuum. Yeah, it's not one or the other. Like you can only do moon magic when the moon is out in a full moon. You know, you can do it any time, but if you do it when it's a full moon, then you're harnessing the natural forces to help your
Oh yeah, it's always
help
good to
whatever
be able
you're
to do
doing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Teresa says, how many healings do you do in a week? It depends on the week. This week I did one on Saturday, and I'm going to be doing another one tomorrow for someone else. I try to make sure that I maintain my energy and health and so forth when I'm agreeing to do a distant healing for somebody. And when I'm finished doing it, I also have to make sure I withdraw my energy back into myself before I completely sever the circuit with them, so that I'm not going to make myself sick. I discovered that I have a natural tendency to do that in the very beginning when I first started doing psychic healing. And and yeah, my method of doing that is sort of to become one with the person I'm working on, and then generate the healing energy in myself and transfer it to them so that then they have it. It's one way of saying it.
Yeah, well, that's, you know,
And I help set their energy conduits, opening up the chakra systems and, the access to earth energy and divine light energy and all the other things that are involved.
you know, and that's one of the methods Barden teaches too, transferring your consciousness into the other person, for example, and then you can breathe. Barden, one of the things Barden works on is breathing in the healing energy into yourself, that kind of thing. But you can learn to do the same thing, become the person you need to heal, and then you visualize them breathing in the healing energy, and you breathe it right into them directly, and then leave it into them. That's not necessarily the ideal way of doing it. You're best to bring it in from outside the universe, but
Well, when I'm doing it that way, I'm bringing it in from elsewhere and just using my own conduit to
right.
the
So you're
earth
not using your energy
and
for
the
it.
divine light, do
But
the
yeah,
tree meditation kind of a thing, and create those pathways, and then help to transfer those pathways to the person and get the energy moving for them so they have the best chance of getting better. So Gaga says, sorry to hear that, whatever that was. Astra says, they just jealous that the fairies roll up the windows when they drive by their houses. Astra says, fairies, BW Bug, and the sun.
I think it's a nice little sun there.
Yeah, Lee says, thank you. You're welcome, Lee. Jono says, if those a-holes are making fun of you because they're blind to the path, I hope you wear it as a badge of honor. I like it when blind people talk to me or tell me how wrong I am. It builds my fortitude. Well, as far as I know, no one's been making fun of me recently. Just, But hey.
Yeah, it was a while back, and that seemed to just be their channel. They were
Oh, those guys, right. I watched it and it was so stupid. And I was just like, okay. And I didn't ask them to take it down.
Yeah, they were making cracks about everything, including the fact that there was in the video, Siofra was sitting on a wooden chair that squeaked, and they made a big deal about the wooden chair squeaking like he was farting a bunch or something. It clearly was just a wooden chair squeak. They were just being jerks for the sake of being jerks.
Well, he didn't have that many views either. There was like 40 at the time. Teresa says, if someone puts their energy into you and then you realize they are not good, how do you get them out? Well, you don't invite them in the first place. I mean, I don't do healing work without permission. I think permission is really vital. I had one distance healing that I did where the person had natural guardians that were there, and she neglected to let them know that I had been given permission to work on her and to do the energy work. So I had to talk to them first and point out the fact that I had been invited. So that was kind of entertaining. Hasn't been a problem since because now they know me. But yeah, you have to be careful who you allow into your energies field. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, I had one woman who came to me as a massage client, and she didn't want to have any energy work, and I couldn't work on it at all because just touching someone, I'm transferring a certain amount of energy because I'm tuning into their body, finding out where they hurt, where they're tight, what I need to do to try and make them relax. And she didn't want to have any of it, so I'm like, okay, please don't come back because this is really frustrating for me. So you have to find the right fit.
Yeah.
SL says, hi, Siofra. Hi, SL. We've only got a few minutes. Pastor says, that's so dumb. Chair farts? What are they, 12? Yeah, that's pretty much how they acted.
And pretty much how we felt about it too.
They were two older guys that really thought they were something special and that people would really care about their opinion. So, yeah. Pastor says, people are a trip. Yes, they are. And of course, the Dunning-Kruger effect is always present when it comes to people like that. People who are absolutely certain of what they know, generally speaking, are suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, because the more you know you don't know, the more you realize how much there is yet to learn and how wrong you can be about things you think you're certain of. Yeah. So you have to always, if you're not willing to keep an open mind and reevaluate your own perception of what's going on, yeah, then you're just got an ego that's out of control.
Yeah.
And you know. That's why I try to talk about my personal experiences, because these are the things that happened to me. I think it's great that these things have happened to other people too. Gives me some hope. I think I'm going to have to shut the show down right now because I have to leave. So, bye guys.
Okay.
I have
Bye,
to
everyone.
go.
Thank you for being here.